Yo, what's up guys? Zephyr here, and welcome to my Himeko Burst DPS build. Now, if you don't know who Himeko is, she is like literally one of the best characters in this game, due to being the best, hottest redhead out here on the star rail. but besides that, if you don't know seriously who Himeko is a multi-target fire burst DPS with both high damage potential and base attack, meaning that Himeko can literally just carry your teams, and with little effort honestly, into building her. And she will hit like a truck. Now, if you need a little rundown of what she actually does specifically, everything she does, scaling off of your attack, who would have thought DPS scales off attack. Her ultimate, talent, and technique are what I say are her priority when it comes to her skills. Both letting her, or all three of them actually, making her deal high burst damage, and it's absolutely breaking those elemental weaknesses. She is truly one hell of a good unit, and I'm going to show you how to build her. Now with Lightcones, it's pretty much self-explanatory what you want to build with her. Obviously, Night on the Milky Way, being her dedicated Lightcone, is the best in slot for her. And obviously for a good reason. For every enemy on the field, you increase Himiko's attack by 9% up to 5 times. And then when the enemy is actually weakness broke, the damage dealt by the wearer is increased by 30% for 1 turn. You are getting, what? 30, then plus 9, 5 times? What is that, like 75% of extra damage just for doing what Himeko does, which is breaking weakness breaks? It's absolutely huge for your Himeko, and it's the reason why it's best in slot for her. Another 5-star runner-up is Before Dawn, increasing your crit damage by 36%, and then increasing your skill and ultimate damage by 18%. Then after using their skill or ultimate, they gain this buff that let their follow attack do 48% more damage. Now, I'm sure all you Himeko players know just how much Himeko actually does her follow-up attack. I mean, it comes out literally every other turn. So having that 48% damage increase on something that comes out so frequently is huge. Now, for free-to-play options, obviously, the Birth of the Self is going to be a really good option, increasing damage dealt by follow-up attacks by 24%. And if the enemy is lower than 50% or equal to, you'll get an extra 24%. And seeing how this is a 4-star, you can get lucky and get multiple copies of this and all put them into one and get that max all the way up to 48%. And you times that by 2, that is a huge amount of damage from, again, something that Himeko does a lot, which is her follow-up attack. Today's Another Piece of Day is another good choice, though I wouldn't say it's better than the last one. It's more of if you have it, use it, but if you don't, I wouldn't be too worried about it. After entering battle, increases the wearer's damage based on their max energy, and then damage increased by 0.20% per point of energy, up to 160. It's a good option, but I would not say it's better than the Birth of the Self, due to having that, like 60-70% more percentage of damage on your follow-up attack. I just think that's more useful than having attack scaling off your energy. It's up to you though, whichever you have, whichever you feel more comfortable with, use that instead. Now for traces, the 2 MVPs I would say, or let's make that 3 that aren't their skills, is going to be Starfire and Magma. These two synergize so well, basically needing each other to even actually work, I'd say. After using attack, there is a 50% base chance to inflict burn onto an enemy for 4 turns. Then when afflicted with burn, enemies take fire damage over time equal to 30% of Himiko's attack. Then you pair that up with Magma, which gives your skills to do 20% more damage to enemies that are currently afflicted with burn. So I'm sure if you piece that together why it's so good and synergizes so well, having a 50% chance just to set your enemies on fire using any kind of attack, then having 20% more damage on that same enemy just because they're on fire, it's just really nice to have. And obviously, benchmark being this free crit rate if you're above that HP percentage of 80% or higher. So just make sure you put your shield early, or you keep your Himeko healthy above that 80% threshold so you can take advantage of this bonus ability. And for actual skills to prioritize, I would argue it would be ultimate, skill, then talent. Ultimate being your huge multi-hit damage that you're just absolutely going to wreck with. Your skill, getting that fire damage, that burn, and hitting it to all enemies within a 3 enemy radius, so the center and then 2 on the sides. And your talent being what your Himeko does every other turn, Victory Rush, and constantly just hitting up those weakness breaks. Now for Relics, Fire Smith is obviously going to be the best in slot for Himeko, increasing fire damage and then increasing skill damage by 12%. Then after unleashing an ultimate, increases the fire damage by 12% for the next attack. Again, keeping up that burn, that fire damage that Himeko loves to apply to enemies. Now for your body's main stat, it'll either be effect hit rate or crit damage / crit rate. Again, managing on just whatever you need most at a situation, either more crit damage or more crit rate. Or you could just take the other option and go full on effect hit rate, increasing your chances to apply burn and stuff like that even more. And for your feat, obviously it's going to be speed or more break effect to get even more of those weakness breaks. Again, that's up to you. I'm more of a speed kind of guy, though I can understand you want to go break effect to get even more weakness breaks. For your ornaments, it's going to be Space Sealing Station to be best in slot, increasing your damage by 12%, and then when Himeko reaches 120 or higher in speed, she gets another 12% on top of that. Now for the main stat for your actual sphere, it's going to be fire damage boost, and that's it. That is the main thing you're going to worry about for your actual main stat. And for your link rope, it can either be attack percentage or break effect, though I would recommend you go more break effect. Attack percentage is good on Himeko, but I feel like break effect will be a little bit more better just because of, elemental weakness and, breaking enemies to get that big burst of damage. It's up to you though, but if you were to ask me, go break effect. Now for substats for both your ornaments and relics, again, everything I mentioned as main stats could be really good as substats. Obviously, the main ones, crit damage, crit rate, attack, break effect, stuff like that. Those main four mostly I would say are the best in slot for her, just because I really loves crit damage, crit rate, attack is always fine on her, and then break effect being break effect. Alright, so as I was editing this video, I totally forgot to mention about constellations, and I just left it out of the recording in general. So I'm gonna go over it real quick. For Himeko, again, she's a 5-star, so getting constellations or, dupes of her character is going to be a weird thing for everybody. Because, I'm sure getting dupes when you want like a banner character or somebody else is not going to be fun. But just in case you do get a Himeko dupe somewhere down the road as this game goes on, Childhood, Dedication, and Trailblaze are all really good. Childhood give you Victory Rush, you get more speed, and with that speed, it'll actually buff up your artifacts or your relics, and your ornaments, stuff like that, that scales off of the speed and having to reach that 120 threshold. And for C4, Dedication is when Himeko's skill inflicts weakness break, you get an extra point of charge, which is a little thing where you shoot it out and, it does all this damage and breaks shields, shit like that. It's really good, and having that extra point for every time you actually break one will just make it be able to go off cooldown even faster than it already does, honestly. And if you ever do get to this point where you get a C6 Himeko, your ultimate would do 2 extra dimes of damage. And if your Himeko actually does get to this point where you get a C6 Himeko, your ultimate would do damage 2 extra times, each which deals fire damage equal to 40% of the original damage to a random enemy. Which, fancy words for saying, even more damage in your ultimate. So quick rundown again, C1, C4, C6, all really good. And yeah, that's all for me. And that's it. Again, Himeko is a 5-star, multi-hit, fire DPS that is absolutely amazing and shreds enemies and absolutely destroys them weakness breaks. If you're looking for someone to absolutely carry your team and just weakness break any kind of fire weakness you find out in the field, bring Himeko with you. I promise you, she will not disappoint.